parenting is a purposeful activity.
It's very purposeful.
You
yes.
can't be laissez-faire. You can't let things happen and then react. You have to decide how you want your home to be. You have to decide how you want your children to be. You want to have a happy family? Be a happy family. Be happy with each other. You know, be positive towards each other. How, you know, our relationship really affected our children's behavior. If we're happy with each other and we're complimenting each other, they emulate that.
So what exactly does a person do in terms of disciplining? How do you discipline? What, you know, different people have different ideas of the you know, timeouts or...
What ages are we talking about?
Well, for younger children, I would say 15 months, 12 months to 2 years old, thinking of in that range.
Yeah, that's really a key time period. That's when, if you do train, discipline, that's when it sets in, and you won't have so many issues when they're 2 or 3 or 4.
Right.
If you really get it up front.
Right. I think that one of the biggest things is you want to minimize the negative and maximize the positive.
Yes.
I remember at one point, kids love attention. They need attention. And negative attention
is attention.
And so if your child is always getting negative attention because of bad behavior, it's still attention. There's an oddly a positive realm.
Remember,
to that.
I remember when my mom was on the phone. You probably remember your mom was on the phone when we were little. We would want our mother's attention because she's talking to her sister or her mom or whatever, and totally engrossed in the conversation. And it's like, but mom, you know, and you know, if you're on your phone or you're on the internet or something, you might find your little children being a little more.
Never fail. I mean, we had landlines. We didn't have cell phones.
Yeah.
Never fail. I'm on the phone. All of a sudden, the house would erupt.
Right. It never failed.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah.
Because they want attention.
They want attention.
Now, at that point, they would be getting negative attention because you'd say, quiet, guys, I'm on the phone.
Right.
Stop it.
Right.
You know?
Right. But, so, a big thing that I did was I really tried to praise good behavior so that a child would want to do the kind of behavior that they would be praised for. I'm always doing that. I'm doing that with my grandchildren. You know, a 6-year-old cleaning up Thanksgiving dinner dishes, literally washing all the dishes, because I'm praising him for it, and then I bring him in and I tell everybody, look what he just did. He just washed all the dishes for us.
And then everybody applauds.
Right. It's like, wow.
Wow, I'm going to do that next time. And he did.
Right. And then the, 5-year-old, it's like, can I help wash dishes?
Yes. And now the 3-year-old.
Grandma, can I help wash dishes when I come over? Sure.
And now the 3-year-old.
And now the 3-year-old wants to help wash dishes.
He's starting to clear the plates.
Right.
Because he's getting praised for it.
Right. So I think that's the overriding thing that you want.
You want to praise good behavior, and you want to support it and emphasize it and have them want to repeat it.
Right.
It's like when you're at work. If you do a project and your boss says, I like this, nice job,
you're going to want to
do that type of behavior again.
Right.
You know?
Right. But there are times when a child will do things that are not good, and the situation, it depends, how you handle it depends on the situation.
Right.
There's safety issues.
Safety are important issues.
And I have to say, let's just address safety issues right now.
Okay.
And this has happened, many times. A child is reaching up to the stove.
That's where you're working.
Our handles are right there.
Yeah.
And
little ones sometimes know how to bring a stool over too.
Right.
If you're not watching.
Right.
They know how to bring a stool to the bathroom or to the sink, and they can figure out how to bring one to the stove.
Right. So whether it's my child or my grandchild, I don't care who it is, when I see them doing that, there's potential for great harm. One, there could be something had fallen on the stove that could catch fire if they are able to turn it on. set the house on fire.
Right.
They could get burned.
Right. My
Reaching up.
father had his finger amputated because he was scalded with hot water that fell off the stove.
Right. So serious stuff. So for me, what I did, they're reaching up. Whatever hand is reaching up, that hand got a slap.
Right.
Because a little bit of pain at this point could
Goes a
save
long way.
lifetime of dealing with being severely burned. No one wants that.
Right.
So when it's a danger to the child or to someone else, you have to respond and make sure this does not happen. And they need to know the seriousness.
So to repeat a point we've made at another time, this is not the point for a soft, oh honey, you don't want to do that because that's dangerous tone.
Right.
There has to be a swift, immediate consequence that sends a signal to them that, ooh, mom doesn't want this or dad doesn't want this.
And that it's dangerous.
This is dangerous.
Right.
The same thing would be.
The other thing, another similar thing would be if a child's hitting another child.
Oh yeah.
Pulling
hair, hitting.
hair, or taking something and hitting them on the
An
head.
instrument of something, or a bat.
That has to be nipped in the bud. There is no tolerance.
No
of
tolerance for striking another child.
striking another child.
Whether it's in the family or a neighbor, you don't want that behavior
Right.
ever.
Now, in a case like that, probably what I would do is just give a little tap
When they're new.
on the bottom.
Yeah.
They learn what that means, and you say no. They
Yeah.
learn what that means pretty quick, and you don't have to do that very often.
No.
It's
No.
not this,
Never wail on a child. Never strike them
yeah,
to injure
but,
them.
But it's a
signal,
firmly pull away,
a signal
no, and
that catches their attention.
And again, you
a
will
little,
not do that.
might be a little tiny bit of a sting when it hits, their hand that they're not used to, but that's not called spanking. That's called saving their life or amending behavior that could injure somebody else.
Right, and you think about this is a really good thing to think about. Extrapolate that behavior to
Teenage years.
a 17-year-old.
Yeah.
So if this behavior does not get stopped now, you're going to have a 17-year-old who's striking people
Striking his sister or his brother
and ending up in
or
jail or prison.
Yeah.
I mean, it maybe I'm extreme. I actually thought that way when I was a parent.
Yeah.
If I don't want this when they're 17 years old, I better stop it now.
Right.
I mean, that's like critical.
I mean, you could even extrapolate it to phone time.
Mm-hmm.
If you're entertaining your child by having him watch your phone videos on and on to keep him quiet, well, that behavior is going to extrapolate through their whole life.
Mm-hmm.
You won't have them. They're going to be a 13-year-old, on their phone. Period. They're not going to talk to you.
Right.
And so if you don't want that, don't do it now. I mean, we, in the phone area, I wasn't thinking about talking about this, but and I know other families, our kids didn't even get a phone until they went to college. And it sounds ridiculous, maybe, but, and I know there's texting
And
now.
they were just coming out.
They were just coming out at that time.
When our children were little.
Yeah.
I don't know how old.
Yeah, but certainly you don't want them in grammar school.
Right. Yeah.
You don't want a 5-year-old running around with an iPhone. That's not good, especially with what's available on these things. But then another danger situation would be getting your child out of the car in a parking lot at the grocery store and setting them down and having them run. Running into traffic, running into the parking lot. Very dangerous. They could get killed.
Yeah.
A driver, picture some woman driving through the parking lot looking for a space. She's not looking for a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old coming out from between the cars.
Right.
So that's got a behavior that's.
And I think that the tough thing when you're in a public setting, you really don't want to do a whole lot of discipline.
Right.
You affirm no, but what I would do is I would strategize. If this is the age, if they're 18 months, 15 months, whatever it is, and you have another child in a car seat that you're trying to lug,
take the car seat out first,
and bring them over. You do until they get old enough that that they're not going to bolt.
Right.
you absolutely, you hang on to that hand and you just don't let them go. I don't care how they scream, whatever, you don't let them go, because again,
It's normal child behavior to want to bolt.
right.
I mean,
right,
that once they find their freedom and their legs, they want to use them.
right.
And
So that's what I would do
Yeah.
in a public situation.
right,
You have to
keep a firm grip on them.
yes, and just hold on tight, and even if they say, I mean, they might scream because they don't want that.
Yeah.
You're the boss. This is for their good.
Right.
You hang on tight.
Or if you're at home and you have a driveway, or you're playing out in the street, on the sidewalk, you don't want a little one running into the street into traffic.
Right.
It might be a normally quiet street, but you just need one car.
Right.
And so you have to have verbal control. In order to get that verbal control, you have to train them. You have to have discipline. The first time they do it, you have to pull them back. You have to catch them, a little swat on the bottom. It doesn't have to be hard, just a signal. I'm talking like a 2-year-old or a 15-month-old. When they first mobile, like no, that firm no.
And it's
move 'em back.
conditioning.
It's conditioning.
I'm always so alarmed when I see, there's these little, glide bikes or slide bikes or whatever
The glides are called, yeah.
And parents are letting their children go in the street with this.
Are they? Did you see that?
I have seen that, because they're all
Normally they're coming down the sidewalk.
Normally they're on the sidewalk, but anytime, it's like, you don't go, in my mind, when I trained our kids, you don't go beyond the sidewalk.
Right. Well, on the other hand, I have seen families come down the street where the children stop at the corner.
Right.
They won't.
So they're riding,
They
and
won't.
then
They
stop.
won't go
That's
farther
perfect.
until their parents catch up, or their parent look for traffic and say, "Okay, you can cross."
Right.
Those are well-trained children.
Right.
And it's totally doable. Anyone can do
Right.
that.
Right.
Right.
I want to address one thing, timeouts. Now, when we were parenting, which was 35 years ago, starting, or 34.
34. Our oldest is 34.
Timeouts was just starting to be a
More
thing.
popular.
It wasn't really, when I was growing up, there was no such thing as timeouts.
And when I grew up, nobody ever heard of that. Yeah.
I mean, you might get grounded. I heard of some kids
Grounded
getting grounded.
is a little different.
That's a little older children, but timeouts, it didn't exist.
Yeah.
And so we were not proponents of timeouts. I mean, it wasn't in our experience. So I can't really speak to it being necessarily helpful, except for if a child has a timeout, a parent has a timeout because they have to watch.
Yeah, remember, every time you give your child a timeout, you're giving yourself one.
Right.
Sometimes it's better to have a quick, short consequence for misbehavior
Right.
rather than a long, extended one.
Right.
What doesn't work is when your father gets home or when your mother gets home,
No, it has to be immediate.
it has to be immediate.
So because I was a stay-at-home mom, you were working. I was the one who did the bulk of the discipline because I'm there. So whoever is with the child, you're the one. When you're with them, you're it.
You're it.
You're
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was no such thing as remote work when I was working.
Right.
And so I was at work every day. And sometimes I'd travel for a week, go down out of the country.
Right. Right.
And
So one thing that I would do, and these are things that have come to mind now that we have grandchildren. Again, it's
You
like
get- you
same
get reminded.
techniques all over. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
yeah.
Like I told my grandson, I didn't want him to have something. And then of course he goes and takes it. Not a word, nothing exchanged. I take it from him, and I walk away. Nothing said. He knows.
Yeah, he knows.
He knows. Many times, it's like you just have to be the boss.
You're the boss. Be the alpha dog.
I'm in charge. What you decide, what is okay, what
That's
is
really the
not.
key. And then you'll follow through on what needs to be done, knowing that you are the one, the parents are
Right.
the ones who decide the behavior they want in their children.
Right. So I don't like these long exchanges back and forth. If you do this one more time, this is gonna happen. If don't say anything unless you're absolutely going to
Follow through.
But sometimes, it's very effective. Just grab it.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, the ineffective, to train a child to behave the way you don't want, you can do things like, this is not recommended, you could do things like, stop it. Don't ever do that again. And then just sit there. And then they do it again. I said stop it.
Right.
And then they do it again. You're lazy. Hey, cut it out. I'm going to come over there again. If you do that one more time, I'm coming over there. And then they do it again.
So they're
I
trying-
told you to stop it. That's not discipline, and that's
No.
not. You're
And what
training them to misbehave.
Right, and what that's doing is it's escalating your emotions.
Right.
You just,
You
know,
can't be lazy.
I love, right, it's, you can't be lazy. You have to act. You know, I like the just grabbing whatever it is
I'll give you
and,
an example.
or two kids fighting over a toy.
Yes.
I just go take it.
They don't. Neither
And
of them get it.
I leave and it's like, there they are, kind of looking at each other.
Yeah. Like.
I didn't
But you have to act right away.
I didn't even have to say a word.
Right.
You just take it and you leave.
Now, on the other side of the coin, having controlled those behaviors, you'll have some wonderful times with the kids.
Right.
They'll start behaving well. They'll start playing with each other well. They start self-regulating. Once the older one learns, oh, this isn't acceptable, they start training the other one.
Right,
You know?
right. It's really true.
You know,
The better job you can do with the first one, it'll really help down the road.
it propagates down the road.
Right.
And then, we had 7 children. We have 7 children, but when they were young, they self-regulated. The behaviors that we expected and trained of the older ones were trained by the older ones to the younger ones. They did. The older ones did accept bad behavior from the younger ones. They participated in safety training. They participated in keeping them out of the street.
Not in the sense of a
spank-
tap on the hand or a thing like that, but just, they'd be like, no, they would look out for each
And then the
other.
little ones, they want to please their older siblings, and they
Right.
start to conform to the
Right,
expectations.
whatever it is, this is what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the whole point here is training, doing discipline should start, at a young age. And if you do that, and you're consistent, and you're not lazy, well then, it will happen. But you want to keep the children safe, and it's okay to have training in the safety areas. Any other areas besides safety issues? Well, just unacceptable behavior, like you said, children fighting with each other.
Yeah, or defiant behavior is unacceptable.
Oh, defiant behavior.
I do not accept defiant behavior. I don't care what age.
Yeah.
That is not good.
If you accept defiance, you'll get defiance.
Right, and as they get older,
It'll get worse.
when they're little, with this little thing, it's so easy to take charge of them.
Yes.
When they're bigger than you are, it's tough.
Right.
You're in tears over bad behavior.
Yeah.
Hopefully no one ever gets to that point, but you see that a lot where, parents are just brokenhearted.
Brokenhearted because their children at that point really are defiant, really don't want to and refuse to listen to them. And there's nothing they can do. When a child's like 15, 16, there's really nothing you can do.
So defiant behavior and safety issues are kind of up on the high level.
Yeah, you got to watch out for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But praise, minimize the negative
And emphasize the
and
positive.
emphasize the positive. It goes a long way.
Now
in
that takes
training.
work too.
It
Watch
does.
out for the positive behaviors and praise them for it.
Right. I was always
Reward them.
looking for, particularly when we were in a mode of crying and negative behavior. I remember there was a season, I'm like, okay, I'm going to really try to look for any little thing that they do right, and I'm going to praise them for it, and I'm going to kind of overlook some of this negative behavior.
Right.
This is when actually we're a little bit older.
Right. Well, I remember you took pictures of all the children having fun, smiley pictures, and we put them up on the wall next to the
Yeah, because
kitchen
it's like
table.
everyone was crying all the time.
And so we put all these happy
And-
pictures on the wall.
And then they see the
And they
happy
see
picture, and they're like, oh, I'm happy.
Yeah.
So again, just shifting the whole atmosphere of the home.
Parenting is a purposeful activity.
It's very purposeful.
You
yes.
can't be laissez-faire. You can't let things happen and then react. You have to decide how you want your home to be. You have to decide how you want your children to be. You want to have a happy family? Be a happy family. Be happy with each other. Be positive towards each other. Our relationship really affected our children's behavior. If we're happy with each other and we're complimenting each other, they emulate that. I give my wife a hug. The children love it. If the parents love each other, really good behavior comes from the kids. I mean, it really helps.
So provide a pleasant environment.
Yes.
For
Be purposeful in having a pleasant environment.
right.
You know, for us, we wanted a neat house. We trained the children to help clean up. You know, it's a mess. It's always a little more difficult for me personally. Right.
So, but parenting is for the confident. Be confident. Even if you know you're not confident, be confident.
Parenting is for the purposeful.
You know what confidence means? It's
with
faith.
yeah, confidencia, with
right,
faith.
with faith. God is with you. He gave you this child. You can parent
Have
this
faith.
child.
You can do it.
You can do it. Right. You can do it.
He wouldn't have given you a child if you couldn't have handled it.
Right. He will give you wisdom and how to handle your particular child. But you
People have been raising families for centuries.
right. But you want to emphasize good behavior, and you want to, nip in the bud any bad behavior or dangerous behavior for the child.
And you decide what those are.
Right. And you can do it.
You can do it.